G'day, I'm Owen, you've joined the Pub Test, and this is the 13th video in the Jack the Ripper victim series. So if you are watching these as we are going through, let's get straight into it. So now, only a month later, on the 20th of December 1888, the next possible victim appears. And that was Rose Mylett. I think that's how that name is said. But what we mostly know about her only comes from her mother, who identified the body, but said she was born in December of 1859, which means she was only around 25 when she passed away. And that is significant because of what? The cause of death was considered to be by some, which we will get to shortly. Yet her mum said that she had married a bloke, had a child together. His name was Davis and he was an upholsterer. Obviously, that relationship didn't really work out because, well, she's working the streets and we really don't know what happened to the child because there's no real record of that. Yet she was known on the street as Drunken Lizzie Davis. She also went by some other names as well, but her mother said her real name was Catherine. But sadly for Rose, the real intriguing part to this comes after her death. So what happened on the night of December 19th to the early mornings of December 20th, 1888? It was 7:55 p.m. and a bloke whose last name was Ptolemy saw Rose on the Poplar High Street near Clark's Yard, and he said that she was in good spirits and appeared totally sober. But then at 2:30 a.m, Alice Graves sees Rose outside the George Hotel on Commercial Street, and she said she was very drunk. That's important to note as well. But then at 4:15 a.m, Police Sergeant Golding comes across a body and he says it was still warm inside Clark's Yard. And he also said that it appeared to look like the way the Ripper crimes were when they were found. But he doesn't say ever that it was a Ripper crime. But that was his first observation, which is also important to note. And yes, it is the body of Rose, who has passed away. It is important to note that there was no mutilation on this one, not even a cut anywhere to be found. But the police sergeant, his first observation, I think is very interesting, and that he may have come across this body very soon after death. Now, what I am suggesting here is that the perpetrator of this crime may have got interrupted the same way Elizabeth Stride's perpetrator was interrupted and took off before they could do anything more. And I state that because the medical evidence is very, very contradictory. Because the first doctor to examine the body, Dr. Brownfield, was very detailed, and he said there's evidence of strangulation. In fact, a 4-cord thread being used. And he said there were some marks on the neck of someone like trying to get the cord off, as if you're trying to scratch away. Oddly though, Dr. Anderson, who examined the body later, made the statement that there was no evidence of strangulation at all. And in fact, how the body was found, well, it was found as a body would lay naturally. To my knowledge, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but to my knowledge, he never examined the body in situ. He didn't see it. He saw this body afterwards. So how he could make that statement, I don't know. But he said it was death by natural causes. And the police were pushing for that. They wanted this to be natural causes, so they brought in another doctor, Dr. Bond. And he said there's no evidence of strangulation. She wasn't drunk either. There's no evidence of alcohol in the system. And she was actually well fed. She just had a decent feed. But Dr. Bond also said that there was no evidence of her ever having a child. And that is surprising considering her mother said that she had. It could be a reason as to why Rose's mother would say that if it wasn't true. But that we'll touch on in the next victim. But I still find that quite a contradiction, because I don't see why the mother necessarily would just make up that story on the surface of it. There's one other bit of detail that Dr. Bond said which I find quite strange, I'll say. But we will get to that. But the coroner, Win Baxter, he's not having this natural causes. He's like, nah, not at all. And he's pushing the jury to say this was murder. Another doctor came in, a Dr. Phillips, and he said not only was it strangulation, the person knew what they were doing. It was done very efficiently and quickly. Now, many people believe that Jack the Ripper was able to immobilize his victims in such a way that not much sound would be made. He could get in, get that job done without anyone noticing. Yet, the other two doctors, Dr. Anderson and Dr. Bond, both still said no, natural causes. And Dr. Anderson maintained that even in his memoir before he passed away. He said this whole case of Rose, massive beat up. Never was a Ripper crime. But Dr. Bond made a funny comment, which I still don't understand how no one jumped on this. He said, well, found no evidence of strangulation, but she may have choked on a stiff velvet collar that she was wearing. I mean, really? What, did she swallow it and choke on it? I mean, if you choked on a collar, would that not be strangulation? Now, I'm no medical doctor, so correct me if I'm wrong in comments, let me know, but I don't see how he could make that statement and maintain that strangulation hadn't occurred. Well, the jury at the coroner found, yes, it was willful murder by person or persons unknown. The police weren't having it, though. They just said, well, thanks, buddy. Thanks, Mr. Baxter. We'll take your judgment, but we're not interested. Why would we waste the resources in chasing down a crime when someone's just fell off the perch due to natural causes? Knowing this isn't long after the Mary Kelly murder. They're straight away dropping this like a hot potato. They want no more to do with it. Because what I find funny is so many of the other Ripper crimes, the people were older. And yes, they were obviously had some health conditions due to their lifestyle. In none of the reports, when they were saying this was natural causes, did they come out and state what exactly happened. Like there was some like heart attack or some organ failure. Nothing. So how did she just drop off the perch? Now, I personally believe an injustice was done to this young woman because the police did not take this seriously. They found medical people to support their view because they weren't wanting to touch this Jack the Ripper case at all anymore. Now, in the official reports, the higher-ups were starting to say that the Ripper's been caught. And I know some people believe that he already had been and he was locked up already in one of the asylums. But that seems contradictory as we go through a couple more of these possible victims. So what do you think of this one? Let me know down in comments. I do find it funny that now the police are just dropping it, wanting no more to do with it, but shortly we'll see they have a slight change of opinion. Not about this case though. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and do all the usuals. Do the like, do the subscribe, do the share, do the flag wave, whatever it takes. I'm Owen, you've been watching The Pub Test, and we will see you on the next one.